Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday morning to you all. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day. And I hope everyone's been having a great week out there so far. We got a good bit to talk about in this morning's video, but the first thing we'll speak on is today's weather. We'll speak on current conditions, the latest outlooks, and then we'll break down the country section by section. There's a couple states we'll zoom into, like Texas, especially in that area. You guys have a higher risk of flash flooding and severe weather for today and really over the next 48 hours, I would say at least. So we'll speak on that. We'll break it all down. And then we'll talk about the days to come, really the pattern over the next 7 days. We'll speak on it. We'll nerd out with you guys a little bit and just try to explain this in a way where you guys, the audience, certainly can understand. That's always a huge goal with me with this channel is, diving deep into this stuff. I want you guys to understand what's driving everything. Some people certainly are interested in that. They just want you to tell them exactly what's going to happen. I get it. But on this channel, we get detailed. As you know, the videos are normally 20 to 40 minutes long at least. So we'll get detailed with you guys. If you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over it, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to pray over it also. Let's get rocking and rolling. So some split flow out there this morning. We got some flow over the northern states, and then we got what we call a short wave. You can call it an area of low pressure, upper energy, whatever you want to call it. We got it down here in the southern area of the country, and this short wave is just bringing some southwesterly flow. So this is yanking up a lot of moisture from the south. We got stationary storms deep down in South Texas. We got just rain sort of just hanging out over the same areas in other areas of Texas, some flash flood warnings in central and northern areas of the state. We got a lot of rain off the coast of the Carolinas, but most of this is off the coast. And I mentioned the flow up here, some rain showers here in South Dakota, Minnesota. And we continue just to have flow from a short wave entering the Pacific Northwest across the northern Rockies. This will actually get a severe weather threat going later on this afternoon to this evening across Idaho, Oregon, Montana, and areas of Wyoming. So this is current conditions right now. We take it to watches, warnings, and advisories. We have flood watches up here and down here in northern sections of Texas. This does extend to a few parishes in northwestern Louisiana and a few counties into southwestern Arkansas. Some dense fog around the southeast with a very moist air mass in place. That'll be in place for the foreseeable future for sure. Some flood watches are up for areas of Idaho, and we got some red flag warnings in the hot pink where it is dry and it's warm, and we got a little bit of a fire danger. So we continue to move forward here. The Storm Prediction Center outlook. We got 3 areas to watch out for that runs a little bit of a higher risk of severe weather, but none of these areas run a super high risk of severe weather, I would say. But areas across the Rockies, like I said, a short wave is moving into the western U.S., the Pacific Northwest. This is bringing some southwesterly flow over the Rockies, and there'll be just enough overlapping conditions, especially climatic-wise, but just enough amount of thermodynamics, warmer temperatures, a little bit of moisture to spark some of this activity to become strong to severe as far as thunderstorm activity. So we do have a huge marginal risk across areas of the northern and certain areas of the central Rockies. We got this smaller marginal risk across the Midwest, and then we have a marginal risk down here for Texas and areas of Arkansas and Louisiana, with a smaller embedded slight risk from San Antonio over to Houston and everybody in between over to Beaumont. A level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather down here. Now, the tornado threat is at a 2% risk for Houston, San Antonio, Beaumont, and all these other areas in this green region. The wind threat, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat is pretty low for everybody today, but in each one of these 3 areas, there is a 5% risk of hail. So we continue to move forward here and look at the flash flooding threat. Now, it is definitely higher today. We mentioned in yesterday morning's video that we thought that the flooding threat would go up for today. It has. So in the yellow area, let's just go on and zoom into this region. In the yellow area, Dallas-Fort Worth, down to San Antonio, Houston, back over to San Angelo, over to Shreveport, Texarkana, 15% risk of flash flooding occurring. But in this red area, Austin, College Station up to Waco, Huntsville, you guys have a 40% chance of flash flooding occurring within 25 miles of any given location. So the flash flooding threat in these areas is quite real today. In fact, you have ongoing flash flood warnings right now. Now, the update on the tropics, no tropical activity is expected between now and the next 7 days. There's not really anything to talk about, and normally there isn't in June, but we've had some anomaly, certainly seasons like last year where the end of June got quite active with Hurricane Beryl, but we have not taken any names, and it's quiet out there, so nothing really to discuss, but just always want to show you guys that since it is hurricane season now. And speaking of hurricane season, hope you guys like the new intro. I'm going to try to tweak it where it shows up in better quality. I know it's supposed to be in 1080, but it's not. But hopefully I can tweak that over the next few weeks. But hopefully you like it. That's actually real footage that I filmed with Hurricane Ida in Louisiana back in 2021. But the Southeast, it's not that active right now. We get into about the afternoon hours. We'll start to get some thunderstorm activity in southwest Georgia, southeast Alabama, maybe the panhandle of Florida. And we start to get widespread thunderstorms across the peninsula of Florida. In fact, I'm going to zoom into that area here in a second. Thunderstorms are possible up into areas of the Carolinas, but more isolated compared to the last several days. And then we get later into the overnight hours, maybe an area of moisture and storms in the southern half of Georgia, maybe even the northern half. A little bit of energy showing up in the panhandle of Florida, but then we get into tomorrow morning, and looks like outside of some downpours in the southern tip of Florida, it looks pretty quiet. But just to zoom into a couple areas, especially Florida, you guys will get a lot of thunderstorm activity today. So we take it to about 4 p.m., 5 p.m. I mean, it looks like some widespread thunderstorm activity. I mean, anybody can get in the peninsula of Florida. I could mention every single name. I mean, Tampa, Daytona Beach, Orlando, Gainesville, Palm Bay, down to Miami. I mean, everybody, Fort Myers. Anybody could get a thunderstorm today, and you could get multiple ones. So if you're vacationing down here in the theme parks, you're definitely going to run the risk of thunderstorms. And it does show a more active western side of Florida than eastern side. So, I know you guys probably need to rain a little bit more than the eastern side over here in you folks, but looks like some thunderstorms in Tampa, Sarasota, later this afternoon, really this evening around dinner time. So Gainesville could get very active this evening also, and this could drop a lot of rainfall. There could become some flash flooding with some of these storms, so just be aware of that. And I will take a quick look at Georgia and South Carolina as we start to get into the afternoon hours. I would watch near Albany. Maybe y'all pronounce it Albany down here, but I think it's Albany. I should know because this is the southeast. But some thunderstorm activity down here. Maybe some stuff near Savannah. This is 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Thunderstorms. Hopefully we don't get no more storms here in northeast Georgia and then the western sections of South Carolina. For some reason, this area has been a hot spot over the last several days. We had another line of storms last night in these areas, but it didn't quite make it to Columbia. It looked like it kind of weakened for the most part, but some storms could be dancing around here in southern areas of Georgia throughout the late evening hours, getting into the overnight hours, and things begin to simmer on down. Up here in the northeast, it's a quiet start. We take it to about midday, quiet, maybe some showers in Vermont, New Hampshire, maybe getting the lower sections of Maine. Piece of energy tries to fly down from eastern Canada and eventually greet you guys into the overnight hours in northern areas of Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, in the form of some showers. But outside that, the weather over the next 24 hours in the Northeast, New England, Mid-Atlantic looks pretty quiet. Now, the South Central U.S., you got to put your eyes down here. We do have some activity. First round of storms will pivot around this short wave. It's quite literally rotating like this because of this area of low pressure. So this will whip heavy rain and storms across the eastern sections of Texas throughout the afternoon and evening hours. Eventually, this will get all the way into southeast Louisiana. Also southeast Louisiana. You got some storms, but southeast Oklahoma, southwest Arkansas, storms starting to get into Louisiana. And then we get more organized activity kind of in central Texas, and this could develop into another line. For example, this is later this evening, 9, 10 o'clock. More storms kind of pivoting through in this area, and just a lot of rain could fall. And then another line of storms will greet you guys tomorrow morning when we're waking up. This is tomorrow morning, not this morning. We already got storms down here right now. Just a closer look at this. This is right now. Storms will move into Houston if they aren't already by the time you're watching this video in this area. They'll hit Beaumont, get all the way into Lake Charles, Louisiana. And then after these move through, more storms could fire. I mean, look, if you're vacationing near, Galveston, some storms are showing up around 4 p.m. this afternoon, and just scattered activity. There is a 2% risk of a tornado down here. I mean, look, this has that circle thing coming off of. This indicates on this site, this particular run, a more intense, stronger updraft south of San Antonio. So we could get some intense storms in this area. 6 p.m. and we continue to move at about 8, 9, 10. Organized activity dancing around between San Antonio, College Station, down to Columbus, Houston, Huntsville, over to Waco. We got a lot of thunderstorm activity sort of just around. And we get 2 a.m. still. Remember, this is going to be dropping a lot of heavy rain. This is 4 o'clock in the morning tomorrow morning. Line of storms making its way from San Antonio to Houston. So we're going to wake up to a pretty active start to your morning tomorrow morning across southeast Texas. Now, this isn't a 100% guarantee. This is exactly where these storms will be around 7 a.m. tomorrow, but just go on and prepare for another line of storms. It's going to be like deja vu in this area for sure. But just taking a look at how much rainfall, because remember, there is a risk of flash flooding in these areas. How much rainfall could happen between now and the next 36 hours, between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow. San Antonio, up to Waco, 3 inches of rain is what's forecast. Houston, about 1.5 inches, but a lot of rain in these areas, guys. So we move up into northeastern areas of Texas. We're dealing with some storms this morning. We'll continue to deal with them. This is around lunchtime. Here comes a line of storms moving into Tyler. Mary, I know you got the issues with the water leak. I think your roof is leaking. Unfortunately, you got a line of storms coming for you once again. If you're wondering who's Mary, she's a loyal viewer that lives here in Northeast Texas. But line of storms is going to be on your way this afternoon. So just go on and be ready for that. 2, 3, 4, 5. And once that blows through, additional activity, as you can tell, develops south of Abilene down to Waco, maybe San Angelo. So this could kind of congeal into another cluster of storms. Maybe this is more so outflow boundary driven based off the erratic movement of some of these storms. Like this is going this way, this is going that way. This looks like it's outflow boundary driven. But we start to take it to about midnight tonight. Storm's still around. This is getting a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Another area of storms begins to hit the eastern, northeastern areas of Texas. Now, is any of this stuff super alarming in regards to severe weather? I would say no, especially the further north you get into Texas, but you certainly could get some nasty storms in this area. And if we look at rainfall between now and 7 p.m. tomorrow, a lot of rain on the way, guys. Dallas-Fort Worth area, 2.5 to 3.5 inches. So good bit of rain. Be aware of the flash flooding threat today. It's on the higher side. North Central U.S., I'm not going to zoom in any states, but I would watch out an extreme like Sioux Falls, Sioux City area in South Dakota, and eventually straddling the Minnesota-Iowa border. Cluster of storms could make their way through. There's a marginal risk of severe weather here, but this is around 4 o'clock this afternoon. Be aware of this if you kind of live in the northern areas of Iowa, southern sections of Minnesota. Area storms could make its way through. It doesn't look that scary, if you will, on the HER model, but it could pack a punch. Some thunderstorms are possible, even in central Nebraska later this evening. Has some activity developing, but not much of a severe threat with this. But we could definitely get a severe thunderstorm warning. And some of this rain later tonight moves across Lake Michigan into lower Michigan, and we're waking up tomorrow morning to just some heavy rain from southern Minnesota, southern sections of Wisconsin, over into central lower Michigan, with areas of rain also greeting you guys in areas of the Dakotas. So now we look at the western U.S. The big story is all this flow right into here, riding over the northern Rockies. So we're going to get clusters of thunderstorms as energy pivots on through. And just to go on and just take a closer look at this region, as you can tell, starting off around 8 a.m. this morning, storms will begin to intensify. This is 3 o'clock this afternoon. You see the storms over central and north central Idaho, southwestern areas of Montana, Great Falls down to Helena, Bozeman, Missoula. You guys, some thunderstorm activity is likely. Karen, be aware of these storms for sure this afternoon. Gusty winds, some hail is the big threat with this. No tornado risk really with these. It's in the mountains. You typically don't get higher tornado threats here in the Rockies. You can get some, but it's normally very low. And then we start to get just into the overnight hours and things begin to calm down. Temperatures, normal run-of-the-mill type June stuff. I mean, it's above average, certainly in the Midwest here in the areas of the plains, 80s and 90s. But for the eastern U.S., this is just average June type stuff. Nothing too crazy one way or the other at all. 80s, 90s, some 70s. It's always cooler in the Northeast. It always takes a lot of time to work fully into summer type temperatures in the Northeast. I mean, it takes well into late June, July sometimes. But the western U.S., it's hot. Some areas are cooler because of the storm activity, lower pressure moving in for the northwestern area of this region. But this is temperatures in this. Now, discussing the pattern coming up. Marginal risk. This is for tomorrow for our Thursday. Get our days mixed up here. This is for our Thursday. We have a marginal risk across the plains into the Midwest. Level 1 out of 5. Not a big deal. And we continue to have a level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather across Texas. So this is generated kind of off two different things. Flow to the north, flow to the south, generated off this short wave. But there is a risk of thunderstorms across the southeast all the way into areas of the Ohio Valley in the Mid-Atlantic and the southern New England area too. Now, a lot of this stuff on this side right here, this is really generated off just daytime instability that builds with the heat and moisture in the atmosphere. Kind of just run-of-the-mill summer-type thunderstorms. This stuff over here and this stuff right here, especially this up here, is because there's just enough flow in the atmosphere. And this is really generated off a short wave. So level 1 out of 5 risk of severe weather here and here. Now, day 3, this is getting into our Friday. Once again, I want you to notice right at the dot, huge area of the country runs at least a risk of thunderstorms in the light green. Okay? But the main show is going to be across the high plains. Slight risk goes all the way to Billings, all the way down to northwestern areas of Oklahoma and gets all the way into the southern high plains of Texas. So this is your classic look for June. On average, your severe weather threats begin to shift north the deeper you get into the warmer months, the more you get so in the middle of the year. So this is normal type stuff, to be honest with you. But what we know now is if you live in that yellow area, that is a 15% risk of severe weather within 25 miles of any given location. So certainly going to get some severe weather chances here. Now we get past this day, and certainly there's no risk highlighted, but they do mention dropping some highlighted areas over the next couple of days for what they're seeing, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Now, tomorrow's flash flooding threat, we do have a 15% risk up here, a flash flooding, and down here the flash flooding threat maintains and it kind of remains in place due to the short wave sort of just trapped down here and just taking its sweet time moving across areas of the country. And then we get into day 3, short wave still down here, bringing a flash flooding threat across Arkansas, up into the mid-Mississippi Valley, down into northeast Texas, into areas of the mid-south. So we continue to add this flash flooding threat. And even getting into Saturday, there's still a large area that runs at least a 5% risk of flash flooding. So let's move here and to discuss the pattern. So we're moving past the outlook. So we're going to start off tomorrow afternoon. And I'm going to stop it here. I know you're not really seeing, you're like looking at this like, yeah, I don't see a whole lot of anything here. I'm going to circle a couple things. Okay. Let's use pink, even though the pink's not going to work good with some of the other shades of pink on this map. Okay, first thing I'm going to circle is this feature right here. And I know it don't look like much, but you can kind of see the slashes of blue here. That is our upper energy that's bringing the flash flooding threat today. Now, this is for tomorrow's afternoon or so, but this is a short wave. There's like a little embedded piece of upper energy that's kind of getting trapped underneath a building ridge on top of it. So this is basically bringing, southerly flow. Let's just call it southerly flow. And in some areas, southwesternly flow. So flow is just kind of, if you look at this wind barb right there, the flag portion of it's pointing this way. Okay. So we got flow sort of wrapping around this and kind of going like this. So this is yanking up flow out the south and just bringing an influx of moisture across this area and really driving just numerous showers and storms across areas of the south central U.S. into the mid-south. Okay, so you got this feature. And then you got the flow from another short wave or upper trough or area of lower pressure starting to move into the western U.S. And that is what's going to drive the severe weather threat across the Rockies that we just discussed today. But this will continue to shift a little bit further to the east. And then we got this too, but this is more so just there's no point in talking about that right now, but this could generate some thunderstorms too on the warm, moist side of this flow, kind of moving more so from the northwest to the southeast. Okay, so the flow is just kind of riding up through here, then down here, and then underneath this main flow, we sort of have this other split area flow, but this is being really mostly generated off this short wave. Okay, now if you look at the moisture, this is kinematics, wind energy, right? You look at thermodynamics, and one of the big things we look at with thermodynamics is surface moisture, your dew points. And we look at the same time frame, plenty of moist air in place, especially down here. Dew points in the 60s, 70s, typical seasonal type humidity and surface moisture in place. So plenty of moisture to drive these thunderstorms. These thunderstorms like moist air. They don't really like dry air. And then we got a plume of moist air up here reaching up here. And this is kind of working in tandem with the ridge and the flow around the ridge, yanking up some flow in different areas of the atmosphere. That's where it can get confusing. Flow is working in different areas of the atmosphere. Some flow is moving this way in the lower areas, some's moving that way in the upper areas, yada, yada, yada. But let's not get too deep into it. But there is enough moisture getting put all the way up here into the northern high plains. Dew points in the 50s will get the job done and higher elevated areas. And even though you don't have a whole lot of mountains, maybe across the northern high plains, you're still more elevated. It's more of a plateau. The further west you get, especially once you get in the middle of the country, the higher you get up in the atmosphere, even though it doesn't feel like you are because there's not tall mountains. It's like a plateau, a steady building and elevation plateau when you get in the middle of the country. But a lot of moisture across the Midwest and certainly a lot across the southern tier of the country. Now I'll flip it back to this and we start to move into, say, Friday. Remember, we had that higher severe weather threat Friday across the high plains. Now this is where it gets a little bit more complex. It's hard to explain it here. But remember, I'll draw on this really quick. I think we have that slight risk that extends all the way into this area like that. Okay, so a lot of moisture getting pushed up through here, kind of because of that ridge in place in different areas of the atmosphere. So we got a ton of moisture getting pulled up into that slight risk area. But the main thing I want you to focus in on here on this graphic is you still got this feature right here. It has moved from kind of like this area to like this area now. So this feature right here is going to continue just to drive numerous shower and storm activity, even outside the circle area I just drew. So what I think as we start to get into into Friday, we're going to start to get more thunderstorm activity across probably this region right here, because this area is bringing that southwesterly flow across this area. Is this going to be a huge severe weather threat? Absolutely not, but just bringing waves of showers and storms. Now, you continue to move forward here and you look at the flow, a lot more enhanced flow, now fully kind of moving over this ridge. But this is just short wave energy moving across here. Okay, this will enhance the flow and this will overlap a pretty moist environment, which I'll show you right here. So we'll flip it to the same time frame that I just showed you with the flow and the around 18,000 feet in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And remember, this is same time frame as this. Okay, flip it to that. See the dew points getting all the way up into the 50s, even low 60s, all the way up into Montana. Remember, we have that flow from the short wave going right into the high plains. Okay, it meets this moisture right into here. Okay, and then we have a severe weather threat. And I know if you're really paying attention here, probably the first thing you'll notice is there's not a whole lot of flow here. You know, just remember that this is only flow in one area of the atmosphere. Now, I could sit here and show every different area of the atmosphere. The video would go on for hours. But this is the best thing to look at when you're really looking at trying to find upper energy. There's lower level features that you can't really see on this because this is at 500 millibars, 18,000 feet up in the air. You can look at about 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air too, which is 850 millibars. But there's definitely impulses of energy right in here that will drive thunderstorm development once it has overlapping supportive conditions for Friday, which is right into here. Okay, so we'll kind of stop it right there. And one thing I want to note here is as we're getting into Saturday, okay, same thing. And this is a different way of looking at things. This, in the salmon color, the warmer colors you see here, this is ridging of high pressure. Then you're going to see some areas in white and even blue. That indicates a lower pressure. So we look at Saturday, the first thing I want you to notice is this area right here. You see this kind of weird white blob here and how the lines are kind of dramatically dipping like that. That indicates a short wave. There's energy right here embedded in high pressure, which is scattered all around it. So this thing is just embedded into that, and that's why it's right around here today. That's why it takes days to just move slowly up into this area right here. But around this feature, we're going to get, this is going to drive a lot of shower and storm activity for Saturday across a good chunk of the eastern U.S. And I'll show you a better look at that as far as what it looks like at the surface based off the Euro here in a second. But if you look on top of the ridge, you got flow going off like this also. And if you see little kind of rivets in this line here and here and here, even all over the place, this is areas of energy kind of riding through the ridge or on top of the ridge. It's tough to explain, but flow is going on top of this ridge, even through it. It looks like it's through it. And then we got this energy still trapped in this ridge right here. So I know I'm getting detailed probably about a whole lot of, I would say nothing for certain areas, but I think it's important. To me, what's helped me learn weather more is getting detailed on the smaller things with the weather. And this is in general a smaller thing, but that's how you expand your knowledge. And if you and the viewer want to know more than just your, I'm just going to look at my hourly forecast. There's a 40% chance of rain. If you want to know more, this is a great opportunity to do it. So you continue to, get deeper into the weekend. And look, you see this little white area right here? It's getting into Sunday. It's drifting all the way into the Appalachian Mountains now. And finally, I think it gets on out of here. But I mean, even in the next Monday, it's still hanging around the eastern U.S. And then what happens after that? Well, we get about a week out. And I think we get more of what looks like a ridge rider type setup. Okay, we get a spiking ridge. Where is this ridge set up? Spiking ridge here, a lot of flow. Big shortwave moving into the Pacific Northwest. A lot of flow kind of shooting on top of this ridge. We're probably going to have flow up under this ridge too, sparking a lot. But that looks like the potential for like a ring of fire type setup. And then we even get past this, and it just gets a little bit different after that. So it's an interesting pattern coming up. I mean, it's nothing unusual, but certainly interesting. But you look at the precipitation, and this is for Friday. Remember, let's back it up here. I'm going to show you a good example of this, and we're going to wrap this video up. We look at Saturday afternoon, okay? You see this little white area right here? This is that short wave, right? I'm going to look at what the model output looks like as far as the surface for the Euro for the same time frame. Makes sense, right? Okay, white area, upper energy, digging lines here. Okay, short wave right into here. And then we match it up with what it looks like as far as rain and stuff. A lot of rain right in that area, right? A lot of rain across the southeast. So that's really generating even more shower and storm activity. And then you got the regular run-of-the-mill just pop-up activity dancing around the southeast and stuff too. Okay, and you move this a little bit more. You get into, say, Sunday. You get into Sunday here. You can even see the low, like a little upper energy is popping off a little low pressure here, because in general, that upper energy is lower pressure. I know that's hard to explain, upper, lower, but it's just energy in the atmosphere. You don't want to think about it too much, it'll just confuse the mess out of you. But this is Sunday. It looks like a very stormy and rainy day across the eastern U.S. because the main driver being because of this short wave. And then you see just these weird kind of splashes of green, yellow, and orange and red out here. This is probably because of embedded areas of storms kind of going on top of the ridge of high pressure. You can see these little dips in the lines. This is energy in the atmosphere. Okay, And, you know, the flow technically is kind of going down here and like this, because this is kind of the main area of high pressure here. Even though I know it shows the darker colors, higher pressure right here, but the flow is kind of going down and dipping down like this. And if you look at, say, you go back at this and you look at, say, Sunday afternoon, and you look at these wind barbs, you can see what I mean here. So let's go right here to Sunday afternoon. Perfect example of it. First off, look at this. Okay. This shows the ridge of high pressure. Okay. And then you look at the flow at 18,000 feet up in the air for the same time frame. Okay. Remember how I drew it going like this and like this? If you look at these little wind barbs, it shows it clear as day right here. It shows the flow coming out the northwest. It shows the flow riding across this area pretty fast, and then it kind of drops down. The flow sort of weakens. And that's the thing, is when there's not a lot of flow one way or the other in the atmosphere, for example, you look at this and you see these lighter shades of color. We'll talk about this a lot during hurricane season. Sort of just, it's almost white, it's almost blue. It's just kind of a lighter shade of ridging colors, if you will. That means there's not a lot of low pressure, high pressure, if you will. There's not a lot of push in the atmosphere in some cases, but that's not always what it means either. So let's just stop it there before we get even more confusing. It's tough, because the tough thing about explaining this is there's different movement in different areas of the atmosphere. So it's always tough. Like if you look at this, you wouldn't think that there's, you would think that your moisture is coming out of this area, but it's not. So it's always a little bit more tough to explain. And some people, that's why a lot of times I'll try to just give you guys more of the basic information, but at the same time kind of teeter around nerding out with you guys, at the same time. So it's kind of just finding that happy medium. But with not a lot going on right now, this is an opportunity just to kind of explain things and things like that. So 2 areas of energy: one, the main flow on top of the ridge; another generated by an upper trough or a shortwave trough over the next several days. That'll be the main driver in the pattern. So we do have to watch to see if a true ridge rider setup will get going over the next 5 to 10 days. So God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow morning.